Are you sure?
Yeah, it's red now. That's weird.
But it was green before, wasn't it?
I know what happened.
Should we just start from the beginning? What did we do? What did we even say?
Did I don't know now. You know what?
Are you sure this is recording?
Now it is.
Okay. Did we record the episode with Dan and Heather?
Yeah, I saw the clock going.
Okay.
And it was like 41 minutes. That is recorded.
Okay, great.
I think we missed our intro, so let's do it again.
Great. It wasn't a very good one anyway.
Hello and welcome to Tech About Town, brought to you by Communitech. I'm Alex Kinsella.
And I'm Sasha Bell.
This episode might also be brought to you by Elevate IP. And we need to include that Communitech, North Forge Technology Exchange, and Invest Ottawa are corporations incorporated under the laws of Ontario and Manitoba and are not agents of the Crown. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know what that means.
What does agents of the Crown mean?
Isn't agents of the Crown like
It sounds like a Canadian. Who's the guy? I just watched one of those.
Agents of the Crown. I feel like it's like an alternative universe, like FBI.
Who's the guy? The British guy?
James Bond.
James Bond.
Agents of the Crown.
Yeah. Okay. So our podcast is now, we've got a sponsor.
We got a sponsor.
And we have to say this legal thing every episode.
And we're taking it wickedly seriously.
Listen, we don't want to make enemies of the Crown, Alex. We can say this with our own finesse. You don't have to read it, Alex.
No, I also if it's seamlessly and makes sense, could we include this? Yes, we can. The Elevate IP program is accepting applications for the upcoming fiscal year commencing in April 2025.
You can say it way cooler than that.
We
can say starting April.
I'm following the rules.
You don't. She said we don't have to say it word for word, that part. Can I do the second part?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, great. Elevate IP is a program. It's run by ISED. Okay, Communitech facilitates it. So we help startups learn about and protect their intellectual property, thus making for a more prosperous economy.
Making that money off the patents.
The next Elevate IP application process starts in April 2025. And if you're listening and you're interested, you can come on over to the Elevate IP portal through communitech.ca and submit your application. And we can get started on your assessment and make sure we can maximize maximize your chance of getting. And
it's not just Communitech; it's Communitech, North Forge, and Invest Ottawa.
Yeah,
which are all legal companies incorporated under the laws of Ontario and Manitoba. And are not agents of the Crown, contrary to popular belief.
Alex,
it's
been a minute.
It has been a little bit since we've recorded an episode of the podcast.
I was thinking, should we make this a new season? But that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know where the season breaks go.
I thought this was a great combo, though.
This was a good combo. We had two great guests. Who are our guests?
Heather Galt and Dan Silivestru. Heather is the chief customer officer of P&P Optica, and Dan is the founder and CEO of Chocolate Soup.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn about their companies, and we're going to learn about their experience as Communitech growth coaches and mentors, and the importance of recognizing your team for all the great things that they're doing. Everyone's going to talk about their chocolate soup Lego figurines.
It's a cool conversation that talks about a lot of different things, which I was hoping for. Right?
Yeah, we were kind of all over the place.
They bring a lot of experiences from their years working at companies of all different shapes and sizes. And in a typical KW thing, Heather used to be my boss. She was a VP of marketing here.
What?
Heather was a VP of marketing.
When? Pre-Steve Curry?
Yes. So she would have been... Oh, man, what would that have been, like 2017, 2018?
Oh, yeah, before my time.
Yeah, and that's interesting, weird connection.
We didn't go over that.
And then Dan had that startup. He talked about Tiny Hippos, and he sold that to BlackBerry. And BlackBerry is, I guess, a member of Communitech. I guess, I don't know if they still are, whatever. They were like a founding thing of it, basically, for like the hub. And they used to have, where Conestoga College is, down in the, like 2 spaces down from them was the BlackBerry space. It was like Canadian Tire and BlackBerry, but no one ever really came. But they did, like him and his co-founders. And so they were like, hey, you should come down and hang out here. So like, yeah, I'll come out because it's better than, being in a big ugly corporate building. And that's how I hung
That's
out
how long
here.
you've known Dan?
I've known Dan for like 12, 13 years.
Well, hey, welcome. Sorry,
Dan
because
and
I didn't know you were going for it.
I don't know. Like we always we just chit chat, and then we get some good stuff.
And then you edit.
Yeah.
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 Sounds
It's all
great.
It's
good.
completely edited.
It's fine.
I'm such a huge fan of chocolate soup. I'm sorry, I'm not in the like meat processing and testing
it's
industry.
really okay. Neither was I. I'm not offended.
The Lego pieces are really.
We love the Lego pieces.
Do you use does
Oh my
P&P
God, I have
Optica
this
use it?
Oh yeah, we totally do. And I have this massive Lego thing that sits right behind me on my calls every single day, and it's all from Dan.
Oh, that's great. I'm a huge fan. Every time my team does anything big, I just got Lego pieces for my marketing team that said I survived Techtoberfest
I remember
2024. Yeah. And I got some for events, MVP, brand champions. So like I just use it to recognize my team all the time.
We do the same exact thing. Yeah.
But not everyone
awesome.
does that. I just like it's great because it's a physical thing. But it goes a long way just to tell people, like I see you, I hear you,
Totally.
I see the effort you're making.
Yeah.
Maybe I should explain what chocolate soup is. Do you want to explain to Alex what chocolate soup?
I was
Should
going to let
Dan
Dan
explain what chocolate
what
soup?
I was about to say. That is kind of, there's two common threads to today's choice of guests. One is everyone works at Chocolate Soup as co-founder and CEO, is a Chocolate Soup customer.
Yeah.
And
You're
then
pointing at Heather and me.
Yeah, Heather and you. And then I also do work for Chocolate Soup, and I have my own little mini
Yes,
Lego
you do.
figure as well. But yeah, tell us about Chocolate Soup.
Yeah, great. So we've been around for just over 8 years now. Chocolate Soup started off as it's essentially everything we used to do for our own employees turned into a service. So we saw firsthand the impact that recognizing employees as humans and understanding that they do have a life outside the office, what that impact has to not just the culture, their behavior, but loyalty. Basically, it's just a positive all around. And after we wound up BitHand, which was a previous company, we're trying to think of why don't more companies do this for their employees, especially seeing the outcome that we saw. And I'll go into that story in a minute. Anyway, so we started Chocolate Soup to try and say, okay, well, this is super important, but it's a lot of work. So can we turn this into a service and then not have the administrators have to, on top of everything they do, also try and figure out, well, how do I get gifts and how do I recognize people on those special occasions that are most important to them? So that's why a big focus is, yes, we do work anniversaries, but we also do employees' birthdays, significant others' birthdays, children's birthdays, and you folks take advantage of this.
We sure do.
Pet birthdays because people love their fur babies. So we do all that through physical gifting. We have a huge emphasis on supporting local, small, diversely founded, independently owned businesses wherever possible. And then, of course, we have the custom Lego figurine component to it as well, where people get their name on a brick and a brick for every year they've been there. And then earlier on, we're talking about custom bricks that really help elevate that employee recognition piece. Not just to show people that you really appreciate the work that they've done, the project they were involved with, or the milestone that the company might have hit, but over time, that stack becomes way more than just a representation of how much time the employee has been there with the company, but it's really almost like a totem of here's all the great things you and the company have accomplished during your tenure.
Yeah. So how it worked at Communitech is our HR department got us to fill out this form, and every employee got like a little Lego figurine, and it looks like them. Like you can pick the hair or the hat or like, and then you pick 2 accessories. So everything, someone's a little Lego piece holding a book, they have a dog, or one person has like a kayak or a bicycle. And then there's underneath, everyone's wearing a Communitech logo t-shirt. And then the bricks underneath will be for every year that you've been there. So like I have a 5 years brick, and then you can get, as a team, you can recognize by getting little custom phrases and stuff. It's great.
No, that's right. And the accessories are like super key, in my opinion, at least.
That's the piece of like recognizing these humans as individuals with individual interests.
Right. And if you're really into cycling and one of your colleagues has a bicycle, it's going to start a conversation. Mm-hmm. Maybe you even end up going on a bike ride together. But there's been a lot of studies that show that one of the best ways to help maintain and retain your employees is to actually help them find a friend at work. And that's really difficult without those really awkward team building exercises. But if I walk by and someone's carrying a golf club as one of their accessories and I'm really into golf, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you play golf? This is awesome.
Yeah.
And this has actually happened to me when we hired one of our employees several years back. And anyway, we played a few rounds since, but it was a great way to build up those interpersonal relationships. And eventually, hopefully, that actually leads to friendship. And then people want to collaborate more. They want to work together. Productivity goes up. Then they want to keep working with their friends. So retention goes up.
It's an icebreaker.
100%.
I also like it as a way to reflect back. So I have a huge one because PPO does all kinds of things. So they do the annual, they do the, sort of milestones of the company, but they also do stuff like, what did you just achieve? So if you've accomplished something special or if you've been part of a project or something like that, that all comes too. So my Lego Ludziki, we call them because that's mini people in Polish, which is Ola's background. Anyway. But mine is a big triangle. And I was looking back at it today and thinking we've been building on it since 2020. So we have stuff from COVID and we have stuff from new customers that we've brought on board and big shows we've done and all these things. And it just is a great way to kind of reflect back on your own history at the company and take pride in it too. So even if you just are having a crappy day, you look at your little structure and you're like, hey, look at all the stuff I did.
Well, and I would be remiss if I didn't give you the opportunity to talk about yourself and P&P Optica too, right? Because that's one of our. How P&P Optica has been around for a while, like
over 20 years.
Yeah, over 20 years.
Yeah.
So like one of the more established tech companies in town, and unfortunately, the new companies get a lot of the conversation space. But P&P's been doing it for a long time.
Well, but the meat industry isn't exactly sexy, right? So I don't know how many people want to sit down and talk about meat.
Meat can be pretty sexy,
but the industry we service is old and kind of slow moving, and we are the tech company to beat in the meat industry right now. So, we use a combination of AI and hyperspectral imaging, which is something that took me a long time to learn to say and spell, but there we are. So hyperspectral imaging uses physics. Dan likes physics. And we inspect volumes of meat as they go through a meat plant and look for things you don't want to bite into when you eat a hamburger or go to McDonald's and get chicken nuggets. And we are able to find stuff that nobody else can find, which from our customers' perspective is pretty amazing. So we save them a lot of issues in the press, we save them a lot of money, and we make sure that the meat they're processing doesn't end up in the garbage because it had something bad inside it.
Every time I see like an outbreak story, I'm like, they're not a P&P Optica customer.
Nope, that is exactly right. Yeah. And a couple of months ago, I opened a can of tuna fish, and there was a piece of blue glove on the top of the tuna fish. And I was like, well, they're not a customer either. Maybe we should call them. Yeah. Because that's the kind of stuff we prevent.
Wow.
Let's take a picture, post it.
Oh, I sure did.
Yeah, all right, good.
Social media.
There was just a recall recently of a bunch of metal, was it?
Yeah, there's been a couple actually. Some metal, some plastic. Yeah, it's not a good time to be a meat processor.
Right.
But you think about it, it's like big plants have lots of things that end up in their products. And that's true whether you're making food or whether you're making clothes or whether you're making,
I'm glad
furniture.
we're recording this after lunch.
Yeah.
There's this, this is going to kill me. Alex, I'm going to Google it. There's this book that was written in the
Dorito Effect. It's a really good book.
That's not the book.
Okay.
But now I want to read the Dorito Effect.
It's a really good book. If you especially if you care about what you eat.
Yeah.
It's a really good book.
Heather, what is the Dorito Effect book about?
So it's written by a Canadian, impressively enough, from Toronto. And it's all about what's happened to our food in the process of changing from farming and small time, butchers and so on, to industrial processing. So the changes in the nutrition and the quality of the food and the changes in how we think about it. So food is chemistry, but food doesn't have to be built by chemistry, right? So you think about the difference between growing sage or growing basil in your backyard and drying it and pounding it down and putting it on your food versus buying it at the grocery store, or versus that basil or sage flavor being made from other chemicals. And so the Dorito Effect kind of walks you through what's happened over that period of time and how industrial processing has changed the way we eat.
Totally. I saw an Instagram reel recently that was like, we grew up eating McDonald's, so it can't be that bad. And then it was listed what the ingredients of a hamburger from McDonald's is now, like how long the ingredient list is versus what it was like in the 80s and 90s.
Yep, totally.
So the book I was thinking of is called The Jungle by Upton Sinclair.
I will have to look that up.
It was written in 1906. And so I read it in my early 20s because it's a very like punk rock sort of proletariat. It was written by this guy who sought to expose poor working conditions like for humans. But he was living in Chicago, and what he just sort of, I doubt it was arbitrary, but he happened to pick a meat processing plant, and the book was such a huge sensation that it essentially started the FDA.
Wow.
Because it exposed not only the poor working conditions for organized labor, but also for what meat processing goes through, and it kind of exposed. I think this was around the time when the meat that was being shipped over to the soldiers in World War I was doing more harm to the soldiers than the actual battles. So it's this
That's got to tell you something.
It's
Right?
a
I mean, the trench wars
fascinating
in World
book.
War One were
Yeah.
pretty brutal.
Now I have to fact check myself, and I'm worried that someone listening would actually look this stuff up. But I remember when I did the research after I read the book, like that was the kind of prevailing narrative. It's a great book.
Okay, I'm going to look
The
that one
Jungle.
up. One of the things that I found really cool in starting to get into the meat industry, so there's a lot in the media about, animals don't get treated well and big meat processing is a bad thing. And, there are definitely challenges in the industry. But one of the things that reassured me about how the industry operates is anything stressful that happens to the animal in its last 24 hours before the end of its life actually affects the quality of its meat.
Yes.
And
yeah.
so processors and, slaughter facilities make a huge effort to make sure that the animals don't get stressed before they're turned into products we eat. So
Yeah, because the
it's pretty
chemicals
cool.
are released. They're like from their hormones, right?
That's
like
right.
just like how our chemicals are released when we get stressed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The same things happen to us, happen to them.
Mm-hmm. And this is gonna be. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say what I'm about to say.
It's going to get edited anyway.
Well,
It's
just
okay.
like pigs are so smart that they actually understand they're about to die. Like pigs have the intelligence of a 5-year-old human.
I've been in a slaughter facility
Yeah.
with hogs.
Yeah.
And this slaughter facility, it's not too far away from here, surprisingly enough, but it's like a spa. They're all sound asleep. The lights are green. Like I swear they would have music playing if it helped the animals.
Yeah.
But they're all sound asleep.
Yeah. Wow.
And they just gently wake them up and they walk them gently down a hallway and they take them into a little area.
Yeah.
And it's all very calm and quiet and peaceful.
Wow.
Yeah. So you think it's all stress. And like there's a company in the US who just built a really modern facility for bringing the animals through sort of the last day and out the other end is chicken nuggets. And one of the things they did was they made their trucks much more stress-free for the chickens.
Interesting.
So they changed the way that the chickens are transported. They changed the way they're brought into the facility. Like everything focused on minimizing the stress on the animal.
And that's so. I mean, this makes sense that P&P would know. No, you're not just addressing. You're looking at the industry holistically. Like you want to understand the process from end to end. You're not just trying to solve this one. The blue glove and the tuna.
That's right.
You're looking at everything.
Well, because once you understand the chemistry of the meat products you're looking at,
Right.
you can also do things like what's the pH. So if the animal's been stressed, the pH is going to be different than if they're not. You can look at things like how much water is in the product. You can see how much fat or how much protein's in the product. And all those things are of massive importance to meat processors. So all things we can do in one scan inside our system, and we can make decisions in about half a second on everything we see.
And you're the chief customer officer, is
That's
that right?
right.
How
Yeah.
long have you been there?
6 years.
Wow.
And funny enough, I actually met them because I was coaching them at Communitech.
Oh, just stop.
So I went home. It's really awesome. This is a great local story, right? So they were in a program at Communitech called Rev, which I think started in 2015.
Yeah, I
Alex?
remember Rev. Yeah.
And they were one of the early cohorts. And I remember the first time I met our CEO and our VP sales, who's still there. And I went home to my husband and I said, I'm going to work with them someday.
Oh, cool.
And about 2.5 years later, we started talking and I went in there part-time. And now I'm there most of the time, but I still coach on the side.
That's great.
And that's like full support of our CEO because we see the benefit in collaborating in the community.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's what other benefits are there to being a growth coach? Tell me, Heather.
Oh, so many. My favorite one, which I tell all the time, is a lot of the companies that I coach are at similar stages to PPO. So, between 20 and 100 employees.
Okay.
Some of them are targeting enterprise clients, some of them aren't. But, we have to do a lot of the same things, especially from a marketing and a customer success perspective. And so the number of times where I've coached somebody through something, that's a real challenge. Well, here's some of the things you might want to do. And then I get off the call and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, I'm doing exactly the same thing at PPO. And I need to go back and kind of take a hard look at my own practices and make some of the same changes I've recommended to the growth coach client.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
it's
it happens all the time.
So objective
Yep.
that it's hard to see like the forest for the trees when you're in the thick of it every day.
I would feel like
Totally.
that's like the doctors make the worst patients
Exactly.
kind of thing, where it's like if you're a growth coach and you're working full time, how do you take that stuff back and kind of take a step back and look at it objectively?
Yeah.
And sometimes something a client's dealing with, I'll kind of go through it with them. It's not something I've seen before, but then 2 or 3 months later, it'll happen at PPO. And then now I'm prepped.
Yeah.
Right? Been through it before.
Dan, you're not a growth coach anymore, but do you have any fond anecdotes from your growth coach days?
Oh yeah, lots. Excuse me. I continue to mentor startups
Oh, great.
outside of Communitech at this point. Not very many, just because of how busy things are at Chocolate Soup. I loved it. I mean, I can't several hundred companies probably.
Wow.
So I've been a coach on and off for a period of about 5 years. I think it was a total of 3.5 active in spurts. It's been phenomenal. Back then, we spent a lot of time with like super early startups as well. So it kind of ran the gamut, right? Those are just the founders just trying to figure things out and kind of get started, which was great because having built a few businesses in the past and exited some and tanked others, there's a lot of mistakes I've made. You can see it coming a mile away.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I can spare you this hurt because I've done something similar. But at the same time, every single one of them was trying to solve a different problem, different tech. It was awesome. It was just a great way to see some really brilliant minds getting stuff off the ground, which is really exciting. I think the whole idea to proof of concept to product market fit, that's probably some of the hardest. And then the next hardest I also think is scaling. That's a whole different set of skill sets. So it was really great to kind of context switch all the time. And, sometimes you're talking to founders, like I said, I just bring something off the ground. And then other times you're talking to an established business, 30, 40, 50 people already. And they're dealing with different struggles. I think like you, Heather, I probably learned more than I taught doing it, which I think was super cool because every time you learn something, you have something else in the arsenal for your own venture, but you now have even more wisdom to help somebody else. That's I've heard this one before. Hey, check this out. And I think another big thing that's happened for me as a growth coach is just the bigger the repertoire of companies I talk to, the more people I could connect together. Where you're just like you can connect the dots between two companies that might have never even heard of each other. But I'm like, you folks really need to talk because you're super complementary. So we've had that's been a really cool piece for me. I forget Gladwell's book. There's a connector.
Which one?
The connector and the Maven.
Yeah. Oh, which one is that? We're gonna have to Google that. Anyway,
I can do it.
Whichever one it is.
Turns out I'm a connector. I
Yes,
guess,
you
right?
are.
So I have this. I can't remember many things. I'm really terrible with people's names for some reason. But for some reason, if you talk to me about something that you were working on, I will, pull something out of the archive from 5 years ago that I talked to some person, and for some reason I actually remember their name, and I can kind of connect those dots. So there's been a lot of those kinds of things that have happened through my growth coaching career, which I thought was really cool because it, again, it's extra helpful. The whole experience has been awesome, and that's why I continue to mentor startups now.
Well, I was going to say, like, part of that mentoring and connecting is an event you brought back.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so back in 2009, I'll kind of back it up a little bit. I started Startup Drinks. So I had just co-founded Tiny Hippos. And I looked around. I'm like, where's all the founders? Like, I keep hearing tech, but I can't find any of these folks. So I was at an event in Toronto called Startup Drinks, run by David Crow and some other folks. And I showed up and I was like, David, this is amazing. Like, this is an event with maybe sponsors, but no agenda, no talks, just show up and just meet other founders. I was like, David, like, when are you bringing this to Waterloo? Like, we need this like badly. And his answer was like, well, Dan, when are you bringing it to Waterloo? I was like, oh, I knew you were going to say that. So I was like, oh, all right, David, like, how do I do it? He was like, well, you pick a venue, you send out a tweet and see what happens. So I did that, and about 20 people showed up, and I didn't know 19 of them, which was really great. So like, oh, wow, there is a startup community here. Anyway, that went on 2014. I think I passed that off. And then I think it slowly just kind of petered out. Everyone gets busy. And a lot of conversations lately, just past COVID, going, okay, events are coming back, but they feel a little bit more corporate. You know, they're funded. We've lost that community event a little bit. So I decided to try and bring startup drinks back. So I did. The first one was Thursday of last week. That was the reboot at Arabella Park. And
love that place.
Yeah, we had almost 70 people come out.
Whoa.
So,
Amazing.
Well, I put the tickets up, going, all right, it's been a decade, like, who knows? And the default on that app was 100 tickets. And put it out, I'm like, saw a couple stream in, and I looked the next day, and we had sold 60. I was like, oh, wait, hold on. The like mezzanine capacity at Arabella Park is 35 people. And that's what I was getting for the event. So I was like, oh, so I capped it at 60 and then opened up 20 wait list. And then finally went to talk to Arabella. I was like, so I know I have room for like 30 to 35, but there might be as many as 80 show up because I capped the tickets. Like, no, we'll accommodate you. I'm like, all right, cool.
Arabella's amazing.
Yeah, it's a free ticket event, or at least for now. And we actually had 74 confirmed tickets by the end of it, because I sent out a message to be like, if you can't make it, cancel it so other people can show up. And like I said, we had close to 70. So that's almost 90%, 95% kind of show rate. So anyway, long story short,
when's the next one?
Second Tuesday of every month.
Oh, okay.
And how do I find out?
I will be not tweeting because I'm not on there anymore, but I will be putting it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So keep an eye out for that.
So look out for Dan Silivestru on LinkedIn,
on LinkedIn.
Startup Drinks. Are they always going to be at Arabella Park? You're going to swap around?
The next few ones, but I think I might swap around.
Yeah.
I'm a little selfish. Arabella Park is a 1.5 minute walk from my house.
Oh.
So 3 minute for me. I'm also selfish.
Can we just give them like a proper shout out and describe what Arabella Park is?
Arabella Park Beer Bar is a lovely establishment in Belmont Village, founded in 20...
They was here when we moved here.
2018? 2017?
18 or 19.
I feel like it might have been earlier than that, though, because it was pretty well established before all the craziness in 2020.
It was.
Yeah, maybe 16.
2016.
Yeah.
That's
and the
what it was,
vibes,
2016.
It's got really high ceilings, and the vibes are like Scandinavian-inspired design.
Got 20 taps rotating.
Yeah, great staff.
Every once in a while, they'll partner up with a brewery and they'll have a tap takeover, which is what happened on Thursday, unbeknownst to me. Fantastic beer.
Was it the duck one?
No, it started with a B. I can't remember. Maybe I had too many beers.
So you said the second Tuesday?
Second Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
Probably take a break over summer, and then nothing in December because people have way too many things going on.
Okay.
The cool thing about Tuesdays not in summer is Arabella Park closes. And because we had so many people show up, as long as we get 60 people out or more, they'll open the spot just for us.
So you're going to do one in January?
January 14th.
January 14th is the next one.
This is the first time anyone's hearing about this. So
that's great. Well,
it's in the calendar.
It's an exclusive.
We need an exclusive sound effect.
Oh, yeah.
Exclusive. Talk about town.
Tuesday.
It's going to be... It's going to be a week or two until this is live, so...
People have time. Maybe if the registration's open, we can put it on the show notes.
It will be by then. So the only change I'm making is I will be asking everyone to pre-buy their first drink. So it'll be a $12 ticket price. That will include your first pint, tax tip included. If you're drinking pop, you'll get 2 of those. They also have a huge selection of non-alcoholic beer and gluten-free stuff as well. So the idea is just to say, because they're opening up for us specifically, I want to be able to guarantee at least 60 drinks purchased, probably more. So I just find like when you charge for something, you get like a 95% attendance.
For sure. We're here to support
without
local.
worrying about. And yeah, so the whole idea there is like no agenda, show up, talk to other like-minded people. If you're interested in starting a startup and you feel kind of lost, there'll be a bunch of founders there. Everything from folks that are just doing it for the first time to folks that have done it many times over.
What time is it in the day?
Starts at 6:30
Okay.
in the evening.
Not in the morning. We're not drinking beer at 6:30 a.m.
I mean, some people might.
Yeah,
There's
you
no
never know.
judging.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
All the. Do you know what Run the Park is? Have you heard that term?
No, but I don't get out much.
No. So Run the Park at Arabella is when you have the 5-ounce sample of all 18 taps.
Oh.
How is that even possible? Can you
The
still
5
walk
ounce.
after?
I've only heard it. It's like an urban legend.
Oh,
But
Is that kind of
I've
like
heard
those
people
like
talk about it.
50-ounce steaks you can buy at restaurants in the U.S.?
Yeah, it's the same thing that, like, doesn't-
or you get it for free if you don't throw up and get through all of it.
Yeah, but like you've never actually seen anyone do it
Right.
or exist.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just urban
Yeah.
legend.
I always just like the idea of it. I mean, not that I would do it or could do it.
I barely drink anymore. I feel like if I had 3 beers, I'd be in the hospital.
Yeah.
I just like, I
well, that's
have no.
another reason I picked Arabella Park.
Yeah.
Like their selection of non-alcoholic things is quite extensive.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
so-
I can still go out. I have very small children, so
Yeah,
I'm
so
sort
you
of
don't sleep.
Yeah, I don't sleep, and
It's very fair.
my parties are like 4 p.m. You know, there's a clown or a magician involved. That's usually where I'm at.
And everything's all done but the crying by 7:30.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd get a close-up street magician for a party if I
Yeah.
had a party.
You know, one of my previous companies, we had magicians on staff.
Wait.
They were so
What?
much fun.
What do
So-
you mean?
So it was a startup. This is a great example of the most awesome,
is this
cool
a
marketing
we have
ideas.
way too much money kind of scenario?
No, actually, it wasn't. So the company was doing telecom, which was pretty boring, right? Everybody, it was competitive market. It was back in the days when it had just sort of just been deregulated, so everybody was talking about it. But the company would take over a building, like a business building in Toronto or Calgary or Vancouver, and we could sell services to anybody in the building. So how do you get everybody's attention in the building without spending a massive amount of money? Well,
Magician.
if you send a magician in and they go door by door, and so we had my two that I remember. One guy was in his 20s. He used to wear a tuxedo. He was blonde and blue-eyed and really funny and very cute. And so he would go knock on the doors. Like anytime somebody shows up in a tuxedo, you're going to answer the door. So he would go in and he'd ask for the office manager, and he would do a whole like 4 or 5 minute magic show in the office. So everybody would come, and the whole office would be a Twitter with like, oh my God, we had a magician today. And then he would leave a business card and a little magic trick behind. And our return call rate from that was like 65%. It was unbelievable. And so we had, he was our Toronto guy.
It's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
It was the best thing ever. And the guy in Vancouver wore a cape. So he was in his 40s, which when I was in my 30s and 20s was very old. But anyway, he wasn't. But he would wear a full-length cape with stars, like glittery stars all over it. And he had a hat. Sometimes he'd wear the hat. And so everybody's going to notice the tuxedo guy or the wizard-looking guy, and everyone would talk about it. And so we just, like, it was the most amazing, creative, I take no credit, it was not my idea, but the most
It's so
creative
good.
marketing I've ever seen, and it worked so well.
I would consider this podcast a success if I hear of a company.
It's so
Who hires a
smart.
I said,
magician.
I heard this on your podcast.
It's so smart.
But that's the kind of creativity.
You gotta break through
that
the
you've gotta-
noise.
exactly, especially if you're in an industry or if you're
Oh my
selling a
God.
service that you're competing with lots of companies. That's how you get yourself noticed and how you stand out.
Magic.
The amount of emails I get of people trying to sell me stuff in a day is
Right?
pretty. Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And how do any of them stand out? They don't,
Do you know
They
what the
don't, 'cause
because
saddest?
it's all the same
Most
stuff.
of them are from the States, and I'm like,
Well, the saddest cold email is when they do like hi and then they have like a bracket,
A
like first
square
name.
bracket?
And they're like, just kidding. I got your attention. And I'm like, you and the 9 million other companies that have tried the exact
Screwed
same
up your-
bullshit tactic.
we
Okay,
do
you know
get
what
a lot
gets
of-
me though? So a couple of companies in the last little while have done the meeting or our meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, oh crap, did I forget a meeting? And so I open them and I'm like, oh, you bleh. And I get so mad. Those are the ones where I unsubscribe every time because I'm like,
Yeah. I
you
get
got
that
me and I'm
Looking
annoyed.
forward to working with you soon. And I'm like,
Yes, those ones
do
too.
I have a new client? Like, what did I miss? And then
we do get a lot of emails for the podcast, trying to be like, do you need podcast production services? And I'm like, but that's what Alex does. You can't put the guy out of a
Or they try
job.
to pitch us guests and they're like not in tech.
What?
Like
Or
there
they're
was
like
one-
in Atlanta. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's
someone
somebody in
from
Atlanta, and it was like in some like sales, but it wasn't software sales. It
it was
was
very confusing.
yeah, and we're just like, no, like
But see, so this is the thing about marketing, though, is
I want a magician.
I know, me too. But if you're going to like spend the time and invest the effort to reach out to somebody, just make sure that you're not wasting their time or yours, right? Like if you're reaching out to somebody who's never going to buy from you because they run a podcast full of tech founders and you don't have tech founders in your podcast portfolio, like why would you waste your time and theirs?
yeah.
Right? But it happens all the time.
Well, I
It's
think
such a waste.
I'm not in sales. Well, I am in marketing, so I guess I'm sort of sales.
Yeah, you're
Very
sales.
pretty closely into sales. We can edit that out. Yeah, I think not everyone just does research. They're just
Well, that's it. Right? But
the
then
spray and pray.
and like that's one of the things I coach against every single time it comes up. It's not worth your time. If you're a startup founder, you've got limited time.
Yeah,
Spend your time where you think it's going to succeed.
great. I'm glad we brought that back to something relevant and tangible.
You're very welcome.
Heather, you're great. Killing it.
But the magician was relevant.
Oh, the magician
magician
is
is
staying
super
in the
relevant.
podcast
That was-
episode 100%.
That was that's wild.
Yeah, it was awesome. And when either of them were off duty, they would come to the office because they would need to get briefed on where they were going next and whatever.
And then they would practice.
Without fail, they would do some magic tricks for us.
course.
It's so great.
Getting their 10,000 hours in.
Exactly.
Speaking of, I Googled it. It was the tipping point.
The tipping point. Thank you.
And then it said what a connector is. You're definitely a connector.
I think so. I'm
Yes,
not a
he is.
maven.
I didn't see what the definition of a maven was.
Maven's like do you know? Do you have the thing? Like
I've read the book. Okay.
I know I read it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Like
Isn't it like
ages
the
ago.
person who kind of knows everything and understand? Like the connectors, like I know you and you know them, and we need to talk. But
Yeah.
I thought the Maven was. I don't know. Okay, we got to look.
the
it
maven
up.
I thought was like the they're like the trendsetter kind of person, right? Like they're the ones who are like
They know what's coming and
like,
what's next,
like
and
the future is like,
Early adopters
Yeah.
is that what they are?
and identifiers.
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
we're probably
I'd
those
say
two.
influencers
Yeah.
was probably.
Alex is one of those too. I still talk about your 3 things for social media all the time:
Oh, yeah?
startups, tacos, and beer, all the time.
What are
Sorry,
they?
what is that?
Startups, tacos, and beer.
So the 3 things was this weird, like if you're starting social media, which I guess there's still people starting, I guess so.
Yeah, if you're starting a new startup, you're
yeah.
going to have that.
But
Yeah.
you want to pick because you can talk about anything and everything, but you shouldn't talk about anything and everything. You should be very specific to what you're doing. And so mine was always like pick 3 things that you're passionate about, and those are the only 3 things that you will ever talk about on social media. You never deviate from it. You don't get yourself into trouble because unless politics is one of them, don't talk about politics. Super easy. So mine was at the time was startups and tacos and beer. Those are my 3 things. That's all I talked about.
Yep.
You do talk about tacos a lot on your social media.
I like tacos.
I appreciate it. I do also like tacos.
I built
Who
a ta-
doesn't like
I built a
tacos?
taco finding app once,
Really?
and we
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
we had a Pebble app. Like remember the Pebble smartwatch?
No, I'm not.
oh.
No.
It was made here.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, before
Eric.
my time.
Yeah, and
Most successful Kickstarter campaign up to
Yes.
that point.
yeah.
What?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, $1 million something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
I remember
Fascinating.
those too.
I don't know. What year was that?
Oh, it was like 20.
12.
Yeah, I want to say that. Yeah, because
I was
I
still a
got
BlackBerry
mine
back
in,
then.
I wasn't in tech
That's
then.
how I know because we were playing around with the Pebble. As
and
a
I got
kid.
mine in like 2014. So yeah, would have been then.
So how do I find the best taco now?
Yeah, where are the best tacos in town, Alex?
Uno Marketplace in Cambridge.
Oh, yes.
Done.
How about something that's walking distance?
Oh, here I like Don Julio's or Casa Toro.
Oh,
Okay.
Both within walking distance of here. Now, where you live, not so much.
There's a Peruvian restaurant
Oh,
on
the
like
Peru-
the
yeah.
side street.
Yeah,
That place is amazing.
yeah. They got pupusas.
Yeah. That place is incredible. I think they have horchata, but I'm not sure. I think they do.
There's a lot of good places. Sorry, see now we deviated
Squirrel.
onto the tacos.
I'm terrible at that, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, so's Alex. It's okay.
I just
okay,
had
he's-
lunch, but I was like, ooh, tacos.
Alex
Tell
is
me more.
going to edit this and we're going to sound so focused.
I always try to find a reason to go to Cambridge just to go to Uno.
Okay, who's tried out the new go-kart track in Cambridge?
I haven't.
Not
I haven't
Is it-
either, but one of my colleagues did and said it was awesome.
Because
so
there's
I'm
one
totally gonna
in
try
Frederick
it.
Mall too, like the same kind of
Is
thing,
there?
like
Yeah, in the
electric,
basement.
But how
where the
can,
movie
like,
theater used to be.
It can't be that big.
It's
though.
it's a big space. 'Cause
Is
it was
it?
like, it was
The
like
whole
a
basement.
They had like 4 screens down
I
there.
didn't think it was that big.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
The
no,
whole
no,
basement of the mall.
Yeah. Okay.
I
I wanna try
haven't
that one
been
in
there. My
Yeah,
kids
I
aren't
really do too.
big enough
Not
yet.
yet. Soon.
Soon, yeah.
Mine are definitely big enough. Both my youngest is just about to get her driver's license.
You can practice
Did
down there.
Have you gone to the bowling alley where the Flying Dog used to be?
No.
It's like, it's sad. It's really nice space. Like, it's a beautiful bowling alley, and they got a big arcade, and you don't have to wear bowling shoes if you don't want to.
Okay,
you just wear
that's
your own
great.
shoes.
That's good.
And
Because
it's,
bowling
and
shoes
it's
are
nice.
gross.
And like, you know, and we have a lot of bowling alleys in town. I'm kind of surprised at how many bowling alleys we need in KW, but it's cool. But it's also the dog, and I'm kind of like,
The dog was fun.
I want to be at the
I
dog.
like
Yes.
bowling shoes.
I remember when it used to be a roller skating
Yeah, see?
rink.
Yes, I do
So
too,
that
which is
age
kind of
range.
When I lived
embarrassing.
in Seattle, there was a roller skating rink near where I lived in a neighborhood is called White Center, I think. And it's amazing how quickly my mind just erases information. And they had like Saturday night, like adult skate, and people would come out of the woodwork. It'd be like line up around the corner, and you'd go and you'd just dance. And oh man, it was so fun.
We had a pop-up one this summer.
Really?
Yeah. And like it was in the boardwalk, and I forget what store it was in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like one of the stores that closed.
Yeah.
And we were
Oh, that would be
in
so
there
much
for
fun.
like, it was like the spirit Halloween of roller rinks, right? Like, it's great. And they still do pop-ups. I do them like downtown sometimes.
That would be so fun.
We need more
Although
of
I
that.
feel like we're now getting to the point where if we fell, we would really hurt
Oh, yeah,
ourselves.
no. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You need full pads.
Oh, totally. Everywhere. Yeah.
That's why I don't go skating.
I like how this conversation is
Yeah, tacos and roller skates.
gone into roller skating. Well, I wanted to say thank you for joining us today on this. Like, this is the kind of conversation I like, where it's all over the place.
Yeah, same.
And that's what
Enjoy
we
it.
need.
Is there anything you guys want
Yeah.
to talk about with your businesses, or anything you want to promote or give a shout out to, or anything like that?
One thing I think we can't leave this podcast without is talking about the growth coaches here.
Please.
So I've been here for 9 years as a growth coach, which is actually kind of terrifying, but also kind of amazing. And like you were saying, like my favorite thing about coaching is hearing people's stories. And as a coach, the privilege of hearing how people got to where they are and why they started their companies is pretty awesome. And the breadth of coaches that are here is equally as awesome. So, you know, if you're a company and you're trying to get started and you're trying to figure out your tech or your marketing or your sales or your whatever, there's somebody here to help you. And I feel like it doesn't always get taken advantage of. So
Yeah.
I hope that this podcast and other stuff you're doing will help with that.
Yeah, so if for tech entrepreneurs in the region, Toronto-Waterloo corridor, Alex hates that phrase. You can slide on over to communitech.ca/membership, and certain tiers of membership gets access to growth coach hours. And we have growth coaches that cover the gamut, really.
We do.
Yeah.
And it's as little as $50 a month
Yeah.
to get a Communitech membership and have access to coaches.
Wisdom. Yeah, and everyone kind of has their own specialty, I feel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And the account managers here will help you find the
who
person
you
who
need.
matches you best.
Yeah.
Wisdom as a service.
Yes, that's you know what? Okay,
Was.
I was going to say was. That does not sit well.
It doesn't, but I tell you right now,
But
I'd be
it's
ticked
true.
if Allison steals that.
I don't think you have to be worried about that.
Maybe we could find another word for wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But we could do guidance as a service, and that would actually be worse.
Yeah, it
So
would be.
we're not going to do that either. Yeah.
We have a lot of gas at Communitech. Ba-dum-bum.
Ching. Yeah.
And what about chocolate soup? So if you're a business, do you have specific businesses for chocolate soup? Like, is it, I know the answer to this. It's a leading question. Is it just tech companies, or is it companies of any sector and industry?
Well, I know, Alex. It's not just tech companies. No, essentially, we're focused on any organization that has employees that they care for and that they want to retain is likely a good fit for us. So if you're worried about your employees leaving, how hard it is to replace them, I mean, the talent market changes all the time. But no, we have customers in manufacturing, biotech, insurance, finance, tech, obviously. I think the only industry that is potentially not as good a fit would be retail. But other than that, we seem to work really well with pretty much any industry, except as long as they really care about their employees, they want to retain them, they want to make sure that they feel valued, cared for, we can help.
And if you want to learn more?
Chocolatesoup.ca. Super
and
simple.
I can vouch for it works. PPO's team talks about it all the time. It's been great from all kinds of perspectives. So,
So good to hear.
highly recommended.
I like when I post mine and it gets like a lot.
Did you post my little Lego person? I know you took a picture of it.
I don't know if I posted it. I think I just sent it to Dan.
Oh, okay.
Because I was here. I was like, oh, look.
You know what?
Because it was your 5-year break, I think.
Maybe we can provide pictures of her.
Oh, yes. I was totally going to
notes.
ask for that.
Totally.
I can do that.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Actually, I think my
I'm curious
LinkedIn
to see
avatar
your.
I can send
Is
it.
you holding it?
Mine,
me
mine
holding
has
mine.
a lot of animals on it because
I love that.
I do. So we have some. We have a lot, actually. We're not going to talk about how many cats I have right now, but we've been a foster family for 4 years.
Oh.
And so we've fostered 35 cats over
Oh
that time.
my
So my little structure has only 2 cats.
You need 33 more.
I do not want 35.
Can you imagine that?
No,
you
I
had a
can't.
lot.
Yeah. I
Whole
mean,
Lego base plate.
we've had up to 14 in our house at one time, but that was
Holy guacamole.
insane. But 7 of them were like tiny little baby kittens.
Well, I feel like I can hook you up if you need extras.
No, I'm good. I'm good. But thanks.
Of course.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for joining. We appreciate it.
It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Well, that was a good chit chat. We covered everything from tacos to pig spas to startup drinks, Arabella Park,
Magic
as sales tactic. That was a good one.
I never thought about magic and B2B sales, but shit, there you go.
That was a great.
You learn something every day on the podcast.
That was good. Communitech is an innovation hub based in Waterloo region. We're situated in downtown Kitchener. We help tech founders in the region start, grow, and succeed by offering support with talent, capital, sales, community.
Thanks for listening today. And as always, if you have ideas for our show, you want to be on the show, you're a Communitech member, you want to talk about something, you can always reach out to us on all the major social media platforms.
At Communitech.
I don't know about Blue Sky. I check with Tina. Maybe they're there.
Great.
Okay. Anyways, thanks for listening as always.
Thanks for listening. If you want to learn more about Communitech or reach out to us, you can slide on over to communitech.ca or hit us up on all the socials at Communitech.
And maybe Blue Sky, we're checking.
We're checking with Tina. She's got to let us know.
Everyone else is on it.
Well,
apparently it's the #1 free app in the Apple App Store.
I'm so beyond trying to keep up with stuff. I've stopped at TikTok.
I give up.
I give up.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.